Joining me now from Harvard University is Leonardo Maugeri. He is one of the world's leading experts in oil, gas and energy, and he's an associate at the Harvard Kennedy School for Science and International Affairs. Also with me here in the studio is Robert Shapiro. He is co-founder and chairman of Sonecon, and he's a senior fellow at the Georgetown University School of Business. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you to the show. Professor Maugeri, let me start with you. Oil prices have been dropping pretty rapidly from just over $100 a barrel to less than 70, and that's happened since midsummer here in the Northern Hemisphere. What's the cause of this drop?
Well, the cause of this drop is what I have seen in 2012. I was alone at the time, but basically there was a huge investment wave in the oil industry for developing new oil and gas resources worldwide. By any historical standard, we were living through the best period for investments, and this big wave of investment was just a tsunami after 2011 in particular, but also in the decade before it was a big wave. And so all these investments are now producing their first results. In the oil industry, it typically takes a lot of time before an investment produces results in terms of new oil and gas, but this is what's happening right now. More production capacity is coming worldwide, just as demand for oil is not growing that much in the world. And unfortunately for oil companies, for oil-producing countries, these investments will still produce results in the next future, and I don't see any possibility for demand to significantly bounce back, and that's the reason why the prices are probably bound to stay low for a longer period of time.
Dr. Shapiro, we've seen quite a dramatic rise in oil production here in the United States, 9 million barrels per day. How much of a factor is that playing in the drop in oil price?
Oh, it's a significant factor. What we have, as the professor has described, is pretty basic supply and demand. The supplies have increased from, we brought online in the United States and on Canada, new supplies from shale, new supplies even from tar sands. Some of U.S. demand has shifted to natural gas because of the fracking phenomenon. In addition, we had the Libyan fields are back producing at nearly full capacity. That's a change, and this coincides with a softening in demand, economic stagnation in Europe, the slowdown in China, the slowdown in Japan. Really, the United States at this point, in both among the advanced world and among the world's largest economies, is the only one in which we see growth and demand accelerating at a fairly rapid rate.
Right, so we had a whole load of factors that came together at the same time here.
Yes.
Professor Maugeri, OPEC, which is the oil-producing cartel, has in the past been responsible for keeping oil prices high, or in some instances for pushing prices up. What is OPEC doing this time?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is a huge myth concerning, legend concerning OPEC, because in its history, OPEC has been poorly successful in pushing prices up. Just during the 70s, it had some success. But then if we look deep in the history of OPEC, OPEC has never been that successful. That's because of the conflicts existing among its members and for many other reasons. Now, OPEC was completely surprised by what happened in the last few months. OPEC didn't expect the U.S. shale oil production to be so strong. It has always considered U.S. shale oil as a marginal factor, as a temporary bubble, and it has considered shale oil as a very expensive production. Really, in this kind of situation, OPEC was totally surprised, and there were differing views within the organization. There was the view of Iran, Venezuela, and many other countries which wanted to cut production in order to sustain prices. And there was the view mainly of Saudi Arabia that says, no, if we cut production, we just favor the other producer in the world that, like the United States, they are producing expensive oil, and so we will allow them to continue to produce expensive oil in the United States, Canada, and many other countries if we cut production. But of course the situation within OPEC is very, very tense right now because there are countries that are able to sustain a price of oil lower than $70 per barrel, like Saudi Arabia, but there are also other countries like Venezuela, Iran, and many others that are not able to stand those prices. Right. So I feel that in the next few months there will be growing conflicts within the organization about the policies to follow.
Okay, Dr. Shapiro, is that the situation we have right now where the political differences between OPEC member states is really undermining the effectiveness of the organization?
OPEC's position, or the Saudi position, he's certainly quite right that there is a conflict between those countries that can profit very well at $70 an oil at $70 a barrel, and those who need $100 a barrel or $90 a barrel. Among those that need $90 a barrel at $100 a barrel are the expensive shale and tar sands investments. And the Saudis are in the position to reduce their production and push the price of oil back up. They have decided not to do so because they're trying to undermine future investment in those expensive technologies.
Professor Maugeri, are the Saudis thinking very strategically, thinking that if they hold the price down, then it will make it very expensive for countries like Canada, even here in the United States, to start producing oil using tar sands or the fracking method here, and that ultimately they will prevail, that the oil price will remain high?
Well, I think that the Saudis and many others are wrong on this point because there is a general overestimation of cost in the oil industry. It's a very technical issue. This capability of shale in general, shale oil, shale gas, to stand against prices that are going down is mainly the results of very rapid advancement in knowledge of shale formation and advancing technology, advanced technology to develop them. So I basically think that the prices of oil will be able to resist even this level that the Saudis thought were in a way capable
Dr. Shapiro,
of cutting down production worldwide.
You want to respond to that, and then I have a question for you.
Yes, well, there is the other side of the equation, and that is this falling price of oil is very good for growth in the economies that drive the global economy. Large oil importers, the 10 largest oil importers account for 65% of worldwide GDP. The 10 largest oil exporters account for 6.5% of GDP. And so that tells you that the benefits of cheaper oil go to the vast majority of the global economy. That's a stimulus to growth. Remember that this decline in the oil price is partly a matter of supply. It's also a matter of demand.
Okay, I just want to look at the politics of this. I mean, there are some leaders in the world who think there is politics behind it. President Vladimir Putin of Russia, for one. Russia's a big energy producer. He has suggested politics may be at play here. Here's what he said. He said, a political component is always present in oil prices. At some moments of crisis, it starts to feel like it is the politics that prevails in the pricing of energy resources.
The fact is that this is a global economic phenomenon. It has political effects. It has very significant political effects. Countries like Russia depend enormously for their public spending on oil revenues, and this is a significant blow to Russia. That's also true in Venezuela. It's also true in Iran. So interestingly enough, countries which represent the kind of leadership of the anti-Western movement right now in the world are all being hit by this. That's not a political intention, it's a political result.
Professor Maugeri, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Robert Shapiro, thank you for being with us.